No. What's up, guys? Pencil here, and here we are to talk about whether or not Mahito of Jujutsu Kaisen fame is still a top 10 character within the verse. Now, notably, this is just because I see a lot of Mahito talk coming around because, a lot of people are talking about, oh, Yuji's getting the soul amp. Who was the guy all about the soul? It was Mahito. And obviously, considering the anime has recently ended the Gojo's past arc, Shibuya's right around the corner, and Shibuya really is the culmination and literal finish to Mahito's entire character. So now, Mahito's back in the wild discussion sphere. And now, notably, I am no JJK expert. Don't get me wrong. I just found out just yesterday, or just today, when I woke up, that I can't even read, because I did not read 117 properly when I went to go do the What If Megami video. But, with that being the case, regardless of any of that, the real question is, why do I think Mahito isn't top 10? Like, bro's diabolical. He's mnemonic. It's the soul curse. Like, bro, is crazy. And that's true, but a while ago, I released a video talking about the power creep of JJK. And I think Mahito is a massive, massive victim of that power creep. Let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into it. Hey, what's up, guys? Let's talk about Mahito. Now, notably, before I get into 10 characters, maybe more, who I think are stronger than or could defeat Mahito, let's go over Mahito himself and his scaling. Now, notably, unfortunately, we never get to see a fully healthy, full potential Mahito. The strongest Mahito we see is True... How do you even say that stupid name, bro? True Distorted... No, let me look it up properly. I'm not even going to try and misquote it. What is the name of that darn thing? No, not that. Give me the good, juicy, proper, scrumdiddlyumptious name. Instant Spirit Body of Distorted Slang. There we go. That is the strongest variation of Mahito we see in the entire series. But unfortunately, this Mahito is likely around 40% of his real potential, though what that genuinely means is unsure. Because notably, he's noted to be at 40% by his own admission, soul-wise, but the manga also says he and everyone else is at 120% of their potential. So, like, I don't know. But the best scaling we have is this Mahito right here. Now, there are a couple things about this Mahito that need to be noted. Number one, while he was outclassing Yuji, he wasn't able to instantaneously perception blitz and one-shot Yuji in this ultimate crazy form. He simply wasn't, with his physical abilities, even though that's what this form primarily provides him, since he loses a lot of the flexibility of his base state. So this Mahito is simply above 120% Yuji in terms of speed and power. And above Toto, I guess, but Toto's unfortunately just the weakest out of that trio in the 120% battle. So in terms of just raw stats, that's where Mahito scales are on. Just above 120% super duper omega juper fatigued Yugi. I said Yugi. This is my trap card. Saying the wrong character's name. Yuji. That's where Mahito scales just about. And then we have his abilities and how devious they are. One for one, the man's nigh on immortal. I guess he's not a man. The curse is nigh on him. Well, then again, he wanted to be a true human. The man's nigh on immortal, all right? So that's the big thing. Unless you are able to attack his soul, you are unable to properly do damage to him. However, there is this consistent debate. If I'm gonna be ungenerous to Mahito, I'm gonna say that this is a valid way to get rid of him. But if I'm gonna be generous to Mahito, considering this is a video that is putting Mahito out of the top 10, I want to be generous to Mahito as possible. It is mentioned a couple times in the series that the other way to defeat Mahito, rather than just attacking his soul, is to actually just run him out of cursed energy. He is a curse, after all. Like, he doesn't have basic human flesh. You run a human out of cursed energy, and then they're just a regular dude that's likely knocked out. You run a curse out of cursed energy, and off into the void they go. So, Mahito, that's the other way you could hypothetically beat him, but 9 out of 10 times, you are not going to beat Mahito out of cursed energy. Like, bro literally has cursed energy, by cursed energy, of cursed energy, for cursed energy. That man has a lot of that sauce in him. And then, obviously, the pseudo-immortality isn't the only thing Mahito has. He also has, oh, by the way, now you're whatever he wants you to be. Like, legitimately, you're pretty much whatever he wants you to be. Once he has those sticky little palms on you, yeah, you're cooked. You're cooked. Undeniably. If he touches you, it's a bad touch. You should have listened to Sonic and listened to what he said, because unfortunately, if you get touched by Mahito, you're likely disfigured, and arms coming off, parties exploding. Like, nothing good comes out of playing patty cake with Mahito. Unless your name's Itadori Yuji and you happen to hold the King of Curses, whose soul is super duper crazy cracked. And considering Yuji doesn't even hold the King of Curses anymore, that ability is out the window. 100% out the window. So Mahito not only is pretty much impossible to one-shot, but he is also very, very easily able to one-shot you. Mostly. We'll get back to that in a bit. Finally, I guess, would they be counted as standard equipment for Mahito, or would that be a prep time thing? He has transfigured humans, a whole bunch of them. We'll give him that. Once again, we're trying to be as generous to Mahito as possible. We'll give him that in the scenario. He has a bunch of transfigured humans slurped up in him, and he can hurl them up to do crazy things. Create polymorphic soul isomers, which are explosive bursts of multiple souls to do extreme damage to even grade 1 level sorcerers. And obviously you can use them to just create different attacks, such as throwing them out, having them explode, all that good juicy stuff. And then finally, the last ability he has, only in base, by the way, and I suppose he can somewhat do it with the instant spirit body of distorted slaying, he can shapeshift into pretty much whatever he wants at will. He doesn't actually need to, he doesn't have to touch himself to mold the shape of his soul. He can automatically mold the shape of his soul by simply willing it. So Mahito, super duper crazy character, super duper flexible. And at the time that he went in the series, he was pretty, I don't think at the time of chapter, let me double check, let me make sure I am not misquoting anything. I don't think at the time of chapter 130, sorry, the boy really wants to fact check this one. Mahito ends up leaving the narrative in chapter 133, 32, 33. Yeah, he's gone. Yeah, Mahito's cooked. Mahito is 100 million billion % cooked by chapter 133. Kenjaku slurps Mahito right up. Well, not in chapter 133. He puts Mahito in the ball. So at the time of chapter 133, I'm pretty sure it's not impossible to name 10 characters stronger than Mahito. Let me try off the top of my dome. Gojo, Sukuna, Kenjaku. Those are 3. We'll, for generosity's sake, we'll include Maharaga as his own unique character, because Maharaga might as well be his own unique character at the time of 133. For all the Jogo fans out there, all -5 of you, I'll throw Jogo up there too, because he's quote-unquote the leader. But then again, you can make, there are multiple arguments you can make that Mahito ends up stronger than Jogo. The only issue is like speed scaling and stuff like that. And once again, how do you think Mahito can beat Jogo if he can't tag him? But then again, domain. So like, once again, we're going to be super duper generous. That's 5 characters that exist at the time that could beat Mahito or are stronger than him. Everyone else kind of falls beneath. Hanami? No. Dagon? No. Nanami? No. Nabito? I mean, it'd be annoying, but no. Maki? No. Nobara? No. Like, legitimately, you can go down the list. A whole bunch of characters lose to Mahito. I'd say definitively at that point, you could make an argument that Mahito is darn near a top 5 character with the instant spirit body of distorted slaying. There just weren't that many characters running around that were Mahito tier. I mean, in retrospect, you're going to throw Toji in there. That's true. I forgot. Gojo's past arc does include Toji. But we're only going to include one variation of Gojo. I mean, Young Geto. I guess you could also include, but I don't think, we won't include Yuta. You could definitely count JJK Zero Yuta to throw another in there. But even if you throw in Toji, you throw in JJK Zero Yuta, and you throw in, let's say you throw in Teen Geto, or just Geto in general, 8, Mahito would still be a top 10 character at that point. But the issue comes not as much as one arc later, or well, technically 2, because there is the preparing for the Culling Games arc, and then there's the Culling Games arc. The Culling Games. It introduced a bunch of characters who kind of make Mahito's scaling by the time of 133 look super duper embarrassing. Before we hop into this, let me take a sip, because we gonna need it. The sip was too extreme. It overflowed. It's like Broly. But regardless, the Culling games introduced a bunch of natural predators for Mahito. Something I didn't mention earlier, I hinted at it, but I didn't mention, is that you can actually damage Mahito's soul in a couple ways. The series has established a few ways for you to establish Mahito's soul. 2 main specific ways that you can do the darn damage. Number 1 is what was at first super duper uncommon, but then became very common by the time of the Culling games. If you happen to be a dual-souled individual, you have 2 for the price of 1, you have a soul in one body, you, subconsciously by the way, will understand the nature and contours of the soul. And this is to the point where Yuji Itadori, as early as let me double check when Mahito versus Yuji and Nanami happens, but I believe as early as the 30s, this Yuji is super duper nowhere near his actual potential in terms of what he would become later on. As early as chapter 27 and 28, he's able to actually damage Mahito. Why? Because since he holds Sukuna inside of him, he accidentally knows how to attack the soul. This was what turns Mahito into prey for Yuji, to where Yuji can just boom, 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 just keep punching him in the face, and it'll actually do things to Mahito. It'll actually do the darn damage. And, while not all Culling games characters get this very specific counter to Mahito, all of the major ones do. Notably, characters like Higuruma are weird. Very, very weird. And in fact, I do think they would most likely lose. I think Higuruma versus Mahito would be... I mean, it depends, right? Because if Higuruma opens domain, like, how would that interact? I may have to do Higuruma versus a bunch of different characters. I want to know how they would interact with the domain. But, like, Higuruma, probably going to lose. Reggie, probably going to lose to Mahito. Once again, those two are, they're nice, but they're about grade 1 level. Kashimo. Kashimo's reincarnated. Kashimo has a second soul inside of him. And it's even noted that he's subconsciously suppressing it. So, by pure accident, he will punch Mahito in the mouth. And Mahito will be like, ha, you can't actually damage me. And then he's going to start dripping. Because Kashimo can actually damage him. Uro, another character, reincarnated with that fresh new sauce, runs up, hits Mahito, and accidentally hits the soul, damaging him. Rough stuff. Ryu, another character who's incarnated, has a nice new body that comes with a nice new soul. Dual-souled, natural predator to Mahito. Boom. That's it. Heck, another thing that is very, very concerning for Mahito is that you don't actually need a second soul to harm Mahito if your domain is a sure hit. And it is as refined and has comparable amount of curse energy to, well, not Kashimo. Kashimo, we don't know his domain yet, but to Mahito. Because, notably, the main reason Mahito is a pseudo-immortal, to the point where you can't necessarily take him out by conventional means unless you are his natural predator, or you have a certain weapon that we'll be talking about soon, or realistically too. Mahito's immortal because of his technique, and domains neutralize the passive abilities of techniques. You're still able to use techniques inside domains, you're able to activate them just fine, but any passive techniques that you have will be shut down. This is the case for the Limitless, and it would also be the case for Idle Transfiguration, the thing that's holding Mahito's body together. The reason we don't ever actually see this in the series is because Mahito's introduced super early on into the series when there aren't that many domains running around on the good guy's side. Itadori didn't have a domain. Mahito never ran into Megami, but even with Megami's incomplete domain, it wouldn't have the same effect as a sure hit domain, or even a complete one. Nobara didn't have a domain. A bunch of Nanami didn't have a domain. None of the characters that Mahito was faced with had a domain. And the one character that did in Gojo stun-locked him. But unfortunately, Gojo didn't actually get to put that work on him. But yeah, if any character has a domain that's a sure hit, sure execute, Mahito likely either A, opens domain back if he's relative enough in speed to even do that, and then he needs to fight them with the natural variation of his technique shut down because the sure hits cancel. Actually, no. Because it would be backup. I think it would be backup. Because based on the Gojo versus Sukuna fight, the Limitless can still be activated inside a domain when two domains are clashing. So if Mahito's involved in a domain clash, he does have his pseudo-immortality back, but then it goes back to step one, where characters like Ryu, characters like Uro, characters like Kashimo, they all have the natural ability to just keep boxing and actually do damage to Mahito due to the dual nature of their soul body situation. So they're all fine. Another thing, remember how I mentioned that Mahito's body and shape is maintained by a technique? I told you earlier, Inverted Spear of Heaven kind of just wipes Mahito. Because all it takes is boop, and then the technique that's holding his body together pops. But even if you don't like that, then both Maki and Toji have Soul Split Katana. Do you know the thing that skips your conventional durability and goes straight for your soul? Yeah, they also have ways to damage him. Damage him pretty extremely, too. Like, the Soul Split Katana is literally the most counter of counters that Mahito has to run into. Oh, also, speaking of technique cancellation, there's a character in the series that has an ability that's very specifically meant to wipe out evil things like cursed spirits. Oh, yeah, Angel. You know what Angel does? Sneezes. The lights... Can't imagine Angel actually sneezing it. But, like, Angel flies up in the heavens, drops Jacob's ladder. If Sukuna couldn't dodge Jacob's ladder, I don't think... If any figure Sukuna couldn't get out of the way of that, I don't think Mahito's dodging that. Mahito gets hit by the light, instantly vaporized, because his technique is shut down, and he's an evil spirit, so he would literally get erased from existence. So there's another one that just gets Mahito up out of here. Oh, you think I'm done? Nowhere near. Remember Curse Naoya? Sure, he may not be able to do conventional damage to Mahito because he's a single soul individual, but wait till he opens up that domain. Mahito goes to cast his own domain, goes to do anything that's not in the 24 frames ratio. Ooh, that's tough luck there, buddy. All of Mahito's just going to disintegrate, falling apart, one by one, bit by bit. It's not looking good for the boy. It really ain't. Oh, speaking of boys that happen to be able to disintegrate Mahito with blasts of things. Oh yeah, remember Yuta, Mr. Okotsu, Mr. Second only to Satoru Gojo and unusual abilities? He literally spits in Mahito's mouth and Mahito instantly perishes. You think I'm kidding, but this would not be the first nor the second time that Yuta has gotten his lips all over a curse. And I've seen some Mahito fan art out there. Some of y'all are devious. And we know Yuta's devious. Like, he kissed Kurushi and Rika. Rika, can I even call it excusable? Was there anything excusable? I'm not sure if I can call Rika excusable. I'm not hearing anybody out on Rika. Not hearing a single one of you out on Rika. But Rika, he kissed Rika, and he kissed Kurushi. Even if you let Rika slide, there's no way. I hope none of y'all letting Kurushi slide. I better not see a single one of you being like, hey, yo, hear me out on Kurushi in the comments. I better not hear a single one of you diabolical individuals. But he kissed both of them. Bada bing, bada boom, RCT blast, done. And here's the thing. Worst comes to worst. I didn't mention this earlier, but Mahito can't actually one-tap you. Like, here's the thing. Mahito definitely got stronger, especially by the time of Instant Spirit Body of Distorted Slaying. Yeah, bro definitely got more powerful. But remember, Nanami, like a grade 1, a high grade 1, don't get me wrong, but a grade 1 was subconsciously protecting his soul with cursed energy. He was just doing that by pure accident. And he managed to resist Mahito's abilities. And like, you look at me and tell me, who has more cursed energy? Yuta or Nanami? Who's likely going to have their soul protected by an extra thick layer of cursed energy? Yuta or Nanami? So obviously, Yuta could definitely easily eat the hit. And worst comes to worst, he slides the ring on, because Mahito's in... I don't want to call him stupid, because it is a part of the universe. When you explain your technique, it does get more effective. But like, he's going to explain the technique. He's going to explain L Transfiguration. You're just going to nod slowly, slide the ring on, say, Rika, hey, yo, slide me some of that cursed out real quick. And then he's gonna immediately idle transfigure Mahito out of existence. So Yuta, another easy counter. Just absolutely, indubitably easy for him. And guess what? I still ain't done. Because we got even more characters. Characters such as, well, I already kind of went over Gojo and Sukuna. I guess that don't count. Same with Maharaga. I kind of mentioned Maharaga one taps Mahito, RCT Blade, done. You could argue, like, how would that work, though? I don't think the Madoka Deer would work. The Madoka Deer is weird. I'm not sure if that would work. But Madoka Deer releases RCT. Maybe it would one tap Mahito. Hey, call me crazy, but Shoko should be able to kiss Mahito and one tap. No, am I? Am I kidding? Maybe I'm not. Nah, but let's show it with it. But that's the thing. I'm not sure how many characters I just named. So let's go through. Let's just make a nice solid list one by one. And notably, all the characters I named are fast enough to at least be comparable to Mahito in speed and have enough cursed energy that they can tank one hit. So let's go. Let's get the big boys out of the way first. I'm opening up notes and I'm about to start scribbling down. Number 1 and number 2, characters that easily wipe Mahito, Gojo, Sukuna. Shock horror. I don't think I need to realistically explain to you scaling-wise why Gojo and Sukuna are above. If Mahito was quivering in his boots after encountering, what, 3-finger Sukuna in chapter 28 and 27, I think he's not going to do any better against 15-finger or 20-finger or pseudo-20-finger. Like, obviously, Sukuna wipes. And with that being the case, Gojo also wipes, because Gojo's relative to Sukuna, if not stronger. So, yeah. The only thing is, you may ask, well, Pencil, how does Gojo beat Mahito, considering he doesn't have any soul attacks? That's a good question. Until Gojo opens domain, neutralizes Mahito's technique, and as Mahito's paralyzed, he just wipes him with a purple. So there you go. There's that. So Gojo and Sukuna. I mentioned my notes autocorrected Sukuna to skunk. I'm sorry. But Gojo, Sukuna. I mean, once again, honorable mention to Maharaga, because Maharaga, the one we see in Shibuya, the autonomous character pretty much, he would also to one-tap Mahito. If 15-finger if 15-finger Itadori Body Sukuna believes if he was a cursed spirit, he would be one-tapped by the RCT blade, then Mahito, and any variation is getting one tap by the RCT blade. But once again, being as generous as possible to Mahito, we'll let it slide. We won't even put Maharaga on the list. Kenjaku. Big Daddy Kenjaku. I forgot to mention Yuki. We'll get to her in a second. But for Kenjaku has direct scaling to special grade level fighters. Here's a special grade. Here's a barrierless domain. He sneezes in Mahito's general direction, and Mahito loses. Like, I don't think that was too complicated. He uses gravity on him, he pulverizes him a little bit, then he slurps him up. Easy as that. Also, you can give an honorable mention to Geto, but considering Kenjaku is just better Geto, we'll let Geto slide. Another character who casually washes him, Yuta. Yuta just has up in the kitchen. Yuta has multiple ways to execute Mahito, very unfortunately for Mahito. He either has the conventional way of just beating him. Like, if you want to give Mahito that naturalistic lose con, Yuta could just beat him up. Also, he could just RCT in his mouth, just and then Mahito goes to catch it and he goes, scrum diddly ump cha, and then he blows up. And then, obviously, just, oh, that's a nice technique you got there. I think it's our idle transfiguration, though. He slides on the ring. He idle transfigures. It feels so weird saying idle transfigures Mahito out of existence, because usually it's Mahito idle transfiguring someone else out of existence. But that's what happens with Yuta. And other characters, Kashimo just, I didn't mention Yorozu either. I'm lacking. But Kashimo, once again, he's lucky enough to just have the dual soul effect and way better scaling. Like, remember, Mahito's best scaling is somewhere nebulously above fatigued through the moon, 120% demon, not even demon god Yuji, 120% Yuji, who demon god Yuji should at least be relative to, while not fully healed. And then fully healed demon god Yuji runs up on base Hikari, and base Hikari starts styling on that man. And then Hikari gets jackpot, which is a literal infinite burst of curse energy, and Kashimo's able to keep pace with that. So there are a few levels before Mahito could even do anything. So Kashima would likely do a whole bunch of damage because he's a dual-souled individual. A lightning strike, which even Jackpot Akari couldn't probably react to after the first one, and he immediately gets annihilated. So Kashima, another one on the list. Then I gotta slide my boy, my big-headed pompadour having fella up in there, Ryu. Luckily enough, Ryu has two ways to get him. Number one, he could just do, the generic beat him up. Like, ironically enough, Ryu would legit just beat him up because he also has the two-souled effect, just like Yuji does, so he would actually accidentally be hitting Mahito's soul, and considering how hard Ryu hits, yeah, Mahito would not be making out of that. Ryu, once again, has direct scaling to Yuta, who has direct scaling to non-fully healed Demon God Yuji in base, and you can definitely argue both Yuta and Yuji were holding back in that fight, but I'd say you put both of them at full power, and then Ryu still skills relative to that in speed, and he has more than enough cursed energy bulk to survive a hit or two from Mahito. Mahito tells him the technique, Ryu realizes the technique is dangerous, he opens domain, neutralizes Mahito's technique, and then wipes Mahito. As simple as that. Then, Uro is another character who would probably just wipe Mahito. Unfortunately, I don't even see Mahito actually getting to touch her. Like, I think she would, once again, with her direct scaling to special grades like Yuta, she would probably just see the hand coming towards her, yank the sky out of the way, thin icebreaker his head, and while he thinks he's invulnerable, he gets shattered because she also has the dual souls effect. So Uro also is another character who would just come in and I made a wrist whipping motion, but realistically, it's taking a broom and just sweeping Mahito up out of there. And worst comes to worst, if that doesn't work, she opens domain, neutralizes Mahito's pseudo-immortality, and gets Mahito up out of here. She also has just the two same win cons as Ryu. You could also argue, if you don't think the first win con works, or the second win con works, she could just beat him. Once again, I don't think he has any skilling that implies that he would be able to even tag her. At best, they'd be somewhat relative in speed, but with her sky manipulation ability, she'd be able to completely outclass him in terms of mobility and defense, and even a little bit of offense with the Duraneg-inducing skin icebreaker. Oh my word. Thin icebreaker. So there's Uro, another character who kind of just victimizes Mahito. Another character that's reincarnated indirectly, though. Angel. Angel drops Jacob's ladder. Need I say more? Okay, let's say a little bit more. Let's look at this. Take it this way. 15-finger Maguna, fresh in the sauce, was like, his body feels so immaculate. Wait, what is that up in the sky? And then he got smacked by Jacob's ladder immediately. And now, admittedly, Hana did definitely have a little bit of extra motivation with that, but even still, it is literally a light designed to erase evil spirits. And if Hana hadn't stopped, it would have erased Sukuna. So, if it can erase 15 fingers Sukuna, it can definitely erase Mahito. She'd be more than fast enough to just get above him, probably literally out of his range, and smack him with Jacob's ladder, wiping him from existence. Simple as that. Another character who kind of just punches Mahito to oblivion. Yuki Tsukumo, but not for the reason you think. So the main thing about Yuki is that her technique ignores concepts. Souls fall beneath concepts. If that crazy next level insane in the membrane, so insane that not a single person has actually been able to properly explain what that elephant curse does. The fact that Kenjaku says Yuki can negate concepts with her attacks and all the mass manipulation, I'm assuming she can negate Mahito's soul stuff. But if you think that's too massive an assumption, she opens domain on Mahito's head, and Mahito... So Yuki also way stronger than Mahito. Once again, direct scaling to Kenjaku, Big Daddy Jaku, another special grade of insanely high caliber, even stronger than Geto. And worst comes to worst, she drops a black hole at Mahito, and they double lose. So there's that. Another character I failed to mention earlier is gotta be Yorozu. Yorozu is another character who has the twin souls effect, where they are res, and they just happen to do something like this. So let me get this straight. You wanted to touch my husband. Hey, well, listen here, lady. I didn't really want to touch him. I just wanted to manipulate his soul a little bit. Okay, I have to annihilate you. And she would immediately drop a perfect spear on his head and erase Mahito from existence. Once again, two-souled effect, and the two-souled effect doesn't work. Domain neutralizes Mahito's immortality. Also way, way faster. Being able to actually tag 15-finger Maguna. Post-bath, and it makes you feel any better. Like, there's even that, too. It's a post-bath 15-finger Maguna. So if you think Maguna actually got stronger and faster from the bath, then 15-finger Maguna would absolutely annihilate Mahito in terms of speed, and you're actually able to tap that. Not in that way, but tag that. There we go. That's better. So Yorozu, 2 win cons, either just beating him up due to the dual soul nature of her and Samuki, and or just the conventional domain GG. Then, other characters, it feels so weird, but I'm still going. Maki, I mean, I guess you could count this as one character, but they're 2 individual characters. Both Maki and Toji have ways to defeat Mahito. In fact, with their level of speed, once again, relativity to 15 finger, you know what I'm saying? At least in terms of speed, just raw movement speed. I'm not saying, I need to clarify this every single time. I am not saying Maki and Toji scale directly to 15-finger Sukuna in terms of output. I think they would both get dismantled out of existence. Hear me say that clearly. The speed. The speed is relative to 15-finger Maguna. Way too fast. Way too fast. And notably, while, I mean, it's sort of a highlight that Mahito's stated to be fast because he's relative to Yuji, who's really fast. But remember, Mahito's best scaling is to 120% Yuji, or a little bit above him in terms of combat speed. Maki and, by proxy, Toji are scaling directly above in terms of speed liberated Yuji, who is also able to tag 15-finger. So, like, that speed is crazy, and they both have easy win cons. Maki's main weapon literally is Soul Split Katana, so she just... And then Toji, after realizing nothing else is working, is going to whip out Soul Split, or is going to whip out Inverted Spear, both of which cancel Mahito's technique, and either they just attack Mahito's soul, or they cancel his technique, so... Mahito ends up getting wiped by the Heavenly Restricted Duo. It really be like that when it be like that sometimes. Do I have any more characters that beat Big Papa Mahito? You could make this was a little bit wonky though, but you could make an argument that now that Itadori knows how to attack the soul, he doesn't need Sukuna anymore, and especially considering he should have a massive speed advantage over Mahito now, you could make an argument. You could make an argument for liberated Yuji, but I'll give Mahito's bulk plus domain GG in order to let Mahito keep it over liberated Yuji. We'll be generous. And then, see, the thing is, I want to mention Jackpot Akari. He's a character I've been thinking about on and off, back and forth. I'll probably do a proper versus battle for that, though I have no idea how I'm going to contrive that to happen. Like, that one's going to be weird. But even with that being the case, I think it's weird. I'm not sure if base Akari scales that much above Mahito that he couldn't get touched and he couldn't get counter domained on. That's the big thing. I think Mahito probably has more curse energy than base Akari, and thusly if Mahito counter opens domain to Hikari's domain, even though Hikari's domain is good in tug of wars, I think Mahito would ultimately win out. So I'll give that. I'll slide that to Mahito. And then I think, Curse Naoya, once again, domain, plus the massive speed advantage. So, there you go. I guess we'll put Curse Naoya on the list, too. But then I think that is it. But is that 10 characters? Is that 10 whole characters stronger than Mahito? So, in the list, we have Gojo, Sukuna, Kenjaku, Yuta, Kashimo, Ryu, Uro, Angel, Yuki, Yorozu, Maki, Curse Naoya, and Toji. That's 13 characters. Are there 2 other characters I can name Mahito to kick him out of the top 10? Stronger than True Form Mahito. I mean, you could make the argument that Urume should be able to speed blitz one tap and also attack the soul. Maybe not one tap, but Urume should be more than fast enough. If Urume is able to tag post-awakening Maki, who is insanely fast and has literal precog, you could make a solid argument that Urume has more than enough raw stats to like keep up with and outbox Mahito. And I don't think Urume is immortal in the conventional sense that, or even the unconventional sense like Kenjaku. I do think Urume is just incarnated in a new body. So I think that 100% means that Urume also has the soul stacking effect. So Urume is another character who beats Mahito. I need one more to hit 15. One more. This is going to sound crazy. Maybe. It's probably going to be a little bit Brit. I think you can make a solid argument. Okay, this is going to be weird. Hear me out. You could argue that Daido, remember Daido from Sakura Colony? Daido may also be able to beat Mahito. Because if Daido has Soul Split Katana. If Daido doesn't have Soul Split Katana, just has regular Katana, then maybe not. But I think Daido, with being able to easily tag Curse Naoya, who's even faster than regular Naoya, you could make an argument that I'm gonna slide Daido on the list. That may be me trying to like kick Mahito out of the top 10. But I think you can put Daido on the list. And notably, I'm excluding like Maharaga entirely. So if you throw Maharaga in here, that is 15. That's just above Mahito. But yeah, that's crazy. That's so many characters. Notably, characters like Kashimo, Ryu, Uro, Angel, Yuki. Well, to be fair, Yuki was introduced in Gojo's past arc. Yorozu, Awakened Maki, Curse Naoya, and Urome was around for a while too. But Daido, like these characters have been introduced in like the past 100 chapters, but they've kicked Mahito out of that top 10 spot pretty pretty solidly, just because of how much the series has been escalating in terms of its scale and raw power. Though I do think this is kind of it, though. We are approaching the end of the series, and unless Yuji gets like a confirmed ability to ignore Mahito's abilities, I think this list will pretty much stay solid as it is. Mahito is still an unbelievably powerful character. I cannot, maybe you can, but I can't figure out a way to kick him out of the top 20. He's always going to be a threat. His technique is fantastic. His viability is fantastic. His battle IQ is fantastic. But unfortunately, the series has just gotten stronger. It's just gotten better through introducing more characters from times long past and bringing characters from the past to the present. So, I don't think Mahito's top 10, but that's what I think. Please see what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, you have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month. You things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. And also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a very big thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays and Red Wolf 4765. I'd like to give another very big thank you to our $5 patrons, Alex Ice Rose, Art Goon, DemXLND, Midnight Gemlord, Red Wolf 4765, and Sean. I'd like to give another very big thank you to our $10 patrons, Demokami, Joaquin, and Ravi Uchiha. I'd like to give another gargantuan thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose.